Duck was resting comfortably in Tidbit's sheds. He had just been released from the steamworks after a monthly inspection. He was given the clean bill of health, albeit his water injector needed to be replaced, so some recovery time was needed. As he rested, a workman walked up carrying an old wooden doll in his hand. It wore a suit and bore a dead, unappealing smile. Duck just watched the workman walk past him as he made his way towards the back of the shed, and he just had to ask. "What do you have there, Luke?" Duck asks. "Aren't you a little old to be playing with dolls?" joked Duck. "Oh, this is Mr. Whistler. You see, my great-uncle fought in the Great War, and he made this in the trenches and would entertain his battalion with jokes and a puppetry act. He passed away recently, and my aunt gave this dummy to me." Duck just stared at the plastered, carved smile on the dummy's face. Duck felt a little uneasy, staring at the cold, lifeless eyes. "It's kind of creepy, Luke. I won't lie to you," Duck says. "Yeah, I don't blame you there. My wife wanted it out of the house. My kids don't like it either. So I'm storing it here in my locker in your sheds, at least, until I find someone who may want it. Anyways, I'm just gonna leave him here," said Luke. Duck watched Luke walk into the back of the sheds and heard his locker squeak open. He put the dummy inside and shut the door, and then walked back out lighting a cigarette as he stepped out of the sheds next to Duck. "Luke, what was your great-uncle like after the war?" Duck asked. "Well, from what I recollect as a kid and into my adult years, he was a fun-loving chap who enjoyed his family. However, he didn't like to be asked questions about his time in the trenches. He was blind in one eye from gas attacks, and he saw, well, like any soldier in that era, unspeakable horrors. But the only thing that brought him a little bit of comfort from those years was Mr. Whistler. I guess we all have our strange ways of comforting oneself. Anyways, enjoy your day, Duck. I gotta start my shift," says Luke. "Don't work too hard now," Duck called as Luke walked away. Duck then turned his eyes towards the back of the sheds where the lockers were, and where Mr. Whistler's new home was. He couldn't explain it, but something felt a little off. Over the course of the next coming days, some technical problems began occurring. Henry was halfway round the turntable when it suddenly had jammed, leaving the rest of the engines late for their trains and causing confusion and delays, driving the Fat Controller mad with complaints from passengers and clientele whose goods weren't being delivered. At least after an hour of the standstill, the turntable was fixed and back to normal, although Workman couldn't figure out why it jammed in the first place. A cause was never found. Later that night, the exhausted engines were all getting ready to go to sleep, all except for Duck, who felt like he was being watched. As the other engines drifted off to sleep, Duck forced his eyes closed, trying to shake this eerie feeling off. Not long after Duck shut his eyes, he opened one creaky one, as he heard old-style music started coming from the back of the sheds. He blinked warily and sleepily barked, "Oh, would someone shut that radio off? Oh, please?" Duck's eyes shot wide awake at the loud bursts of static feedback and creepy laughter coming from somewhere. The other engines all woke with a start too with the loud sound. "What the hell was that?" They all said in surprise. Percy, on the far side of the shed, glanced behind him at the three rusty lockers against the wall and saw the far right one was open, but he didn't think much of it. "Maybe someone forgot to turn the radio off," Gordon says. "We would have heard it before then," states James. "Probably just a power trip or something, lads," Henry says, and they all murmured in agreement. Duck was a bit more frightened than the rest, and Edward noticed. "You all right, Duck?" "Fine, Edward. I'm fine. I just need to get some sleep." All right then, old boy. Good night." Good night," Duck says quietly. The next morning, Duck awakes to his fire being lit by the firelighter. Luke comes in for his morning shift. The workman immediately goes to his locker in the back of the sheds. "Hey, Duck, did anyone go in my locker last night?" he asks. No, there was no one here," Duck replies. "Why?" "Because my locker's open, and Mr. Whistler isn't here." "Your dummy is gone?" Duck asks, shocked. "Oh, there he is." Luke finds Mr. Whistler on the floor right at the back of Duck's buffers. "How the hell did you get over here?" Luke laughs and replies. "Duck, you sure no one went in my locker last night?" "I would have heard it," replies Duck. "Though, we did have a strange incident last night. The radio in the back of the shed's turned on by itself, and I heard this loud static noise before I heard this high-pitched, demented-sounding laughter coming from it. But only I heard it." Duck looked at Luke, and Luke looked pale in the face, wide-eyed. When he slowly looked up at Duck, he could only say, "You've heard it too?" Duck shifted his eyes. The laugh? Yeah, why? Duck could only look at the terrified look on Luke's face before Luke began telling the story. "I thought I was only dreaming, but the night before I brought Mr. Whistler here, my wife was discussing why she wanted me to get rid of it. She kept finding him all over the house, instead of the chest where he usually was. I thought it was my kids maybe playing with him and messing with him, but she told me the chest is locked up all the times, and my kids weren't to blame. But on the last night before I brought the dummy here, I was awakened to what sounded like shifting, just objects moving around, before hearing what sounded like a dog walking on a wooden floor, little footsteps." Luke and Duck then looked back at Mr. Whistler, then turned back to look at each other. They each wore that same expression on their faces, questioning. Is there really any possible explanation? The uncertainty? A possessed dummy, a relic of the past? Or are we both completely insane? Over the course of the next few days, strange occurrences happening only at night within the sheds. Duck hasn't slept a wink in 2 days, and was completely exhausted when he arrived at Knapford for shunting. He looked miserable. He then saw the station master walking across the platform. He had a very depressed look on his face. "What's wrong, Tom?" Duck asks. "Luke O'Crea. His house caught fire last night. He unfortunately passed away in the blaze. His kids and his wife survived." Duck was shocked. What was the cause? The station master looked down. From what I heard from the fire brigade, it was Luke himself. His wife said he woke up from a dead sleep in a panic. "The voices won't go away! Get me out of here! Get out of me! Get out of my mind!" All in his head. They wouldn't go away. Apparently he went down to the kitchen and left the gas on the stove before lighting a match in the kitchen. Duck was horrified. Duck couldn't think for a few seconds before he heard a fire engine rustling past Knapford towards Tidmouth Sheds. Duck was even more afraid now, and he left the station in a hurry towards Tidmouth. He was relieved when he saw a single fireman putting out a small fire on the ground with an extinguisher. Percy was in the shed watching the flames go out. "Percy, what happened?" Duck asked. "Someone's little doll just caught on fire in the back of the sheds. Fire chief thinks it was too close to an outlet. Nothing major," Percy replied. Duck just watched and saw the charred, melted smile on the remaining head of the Mr. Whistler dummy. He stared at it for a long time, thinking about Luke, thinking about what this dummy caused Luke to do last night. And now, Duck wasn't sure, but he swore that he could see the dummy wink at him.
Child's play. Isn't that unfortunate? Oh well, I had a feeling that the fleshling would succumb to the doll's wrath.